I feel like something has changed with Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Something feels different. Something about last night felt different. The way that the press was actually finally willing to press Donald Trump, the meltdown, the collapse that he had on Air Force One over a scandal that just won't go away, the pushback he is getting from Republicans in Congress and Republicans on Truth Social. Donald Trump, it's over for you, buddy, and it only continues to get worse the more that comes out. And last night, Donald Trump's lawyer admitted the biggest bombshell yet with what he said about underage crime. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into this disgusting admission that will shock you, I want to start with a breakdown of all of the updates that we need to know, because yesterday was crazy and it's only gotten crazier, and that's going to come to us from Jen Psaki right here.
Today, Trump posted on Truth Social that he would be asking the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, Democratic donor Reid Hoffman, and J.P. Morgan Chase. Now, all of those names are also referenced in these Epstein emails. Attorney General Pam Bondi dutifully, of course she did, followed up by announcing she would launch that investigation for her boss, even though she previously said that there was no one left to investigate in this case. Now, set aside for a second the fact that if Trump really wanted to shed light on those men's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, he could simply release the troves of files currently in his Justice Department's possession. But there is one name that is conspicuously absent from that list of Epstein associates. The good folks at Courier Newsroom have compiled all of the more than 23,000 Epstein emails into a searchable database, which is quite a service. And the one name that appears more than any other in all of those emails is Donald Trump's. The Wall Street Journal has even created a handy visualization guide to show just how much each figure is mentioned over time in these emails, also a service. The blue dots here represent each of the Epstein emails that mention former President Clinton. These ones represent each time the emails mention former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. And these ones represent all the mentions of Donald Trump. Far more, by a lot, than any of the people Trump just decided to investigate. And that is just from these 23,000 emails. I mean, who knows how many times Trump has mentioned in the estimated 100,000 files the Department of Justice is still refusing to release. But now that Trump has settled on his chosen deflection, he's finally ready to take questions from reporters on this topic. Well, at least some of their questions.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago. It's really, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton?
I mean, maybe his staff were thinking maybe not answering questions was the right call after all. Who knows? But look, Donald Trump thinks he can deflect his way out of this the way he always does, by focusing everyone's attention on someone or something else. But so far, it isn't working. The House is set to vote as soon as next Tuesday on releasing the full trove of Epstein files. Ahead of that vote, Epstein survivors and loved ones released a letter urging members of Congress to vote yes. And it reads in part this, and it's incredibly powerful. This last April, we lost our sister, Virginia, a true American hero and a beacon of strength to survivors everywhere. Virginia was failed over and over by the systems that consistently believed and supported her abusers over her. Today, we urge you not to fail another survivor and deny them justice any longer. Embody Virginia's courage, be brave, and stand for her in her absence. Vote yes on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Vote for justice, accountability, and the truth. Clearly, this issue is not going away. And there's really nothing Trump can do to stop this.
Donald Trump has really done this to himself, in more ways than one, obviously, but the attempt to hide the Epstein files might have been the most damaging PR disaster of Trump's presidency. Every attempt to distract or cover up has blown up in his face and only brought more attention to the Epstein files. And the latest effort that we've seen undertaken by the right-wing media might be the biggest admission of guilt yet. And that is this idea that Trump wasn't really with that young of girls. That's their new defense. That, he was around victims and he was aware of it, but and maybe not involved with every single one. That's the defense that you hear. But especially when they're talking about young girls who were abused, that is when they get very, very weird. Like Trump's former lawyer and Jeffrey Epstein's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, who admitted this, and it's blown everything up.
Well, let me give you an example. 10 minutes before you went on, the predecessor on your show described Jeffrey Epstein as a convicted pedophile. He pleaded guilty to one count of having sex for money with a 17-year and 10-month-old person. That's not pedophile.
So he's admitting that he doesn't see the rape of a teenager, of a minor, as a pedophilic thing, because it is. And what are you talking about? What are they saying? What they're admitting is that they don't want you to believe that 17 is really a child, or 16 or 15 is a child. It's what Megyn Kelly said, almost legal. It's not almost legal. They're minors that Donald Trump was around, and that clearly, according to that Epstein email, in which he said he was bumping into walls, staring at them, so taken, so infatuated, that Donald Trump was involved with. And now his former lawyer is coming out and saying, well, that's not really a crime. Of course, he's admitting that Epstein committed it. He's admitting that Epstein pled guilty to it. But he's saying that's not really a big deal. 17's not really a big deal. They're trying to redefine all of this in the moment. That is their new goal. Pay attention to what they are trying to do right now. They are trying to change the narrative around who is a child. That they're not trying to say that Trump wasn't in the files. They're not even doing the Bill Clinton bit anymore. MAGA has moved on to that, and their new defense is, well, 17's not really a child. 15's not really a child. That's not as bad as if it was 8. Of course, we know that's what Megyn Kelly was saying. That is the subtext of what Donald Trump's former lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, was saying. That if it comes out that Trump was with a 17-year-old, well, that doesn't mean he likes children. It means he likes young girls, but not children. What the fuck does that even mean? Why are they trying to say this now? This hasn't been the messaging the whole time. It's important to notice how this messaging has changed. From he wasn't in the files, he didn't even like him, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, okay, they spent some time together, but who didn't? To now we are at the point where they are trying to redefine what a child is, trying to redefine what a minor is in an attempt to protect their dear leader. Think about that. And this messaging comes from the top. You think it doesn't? You think these people aren't being instructed by Pam Bondi, by Donald Trump, by Kash Patel, by Dan Bongino, by any of these stooges, by Todd Blanche? You think that this isn't an organized effort? It is clearly an organized cover-up, and they have their stooges in the media defending them. And it's not working, because that admission is the guiltiest thing I've heard about Trump maybe so far, including him literally saying, well, don't look into Donald. There's no need. I got stuff to do. Don't look into me. Please, I'm begging. He said that. Well, we need a full-blown investigation into Bill Clinton, into Larry Summers, into Reid Hoffman. And I do think we need a full-blown investigation into all of the Epstein files. But it was Pam Bondi who said, signed, sealed, delivered, we're packing it up, it doesn't matter anymore, we've moved on. And so what they are also admitting is that they neglected to investigate a cabal of criminals.
Well, before I was a politician, I was a public school teacher, and a lot of the work I've done in the state legislature is focused on helping students like the ones I taught in San Antonio and kids just like them all over the state. And so this scandal, this issue with Jeffrey Epstein and his human trafficking of children in this country and around the world, it makes me sick to my stomach. And I feel like we've got to get to the bottom of this pedophile ring. We have to know who enabled it, who supported it, and who covered it up. And that should be a lot bigger than party. It should be a lot bigger than partisan politics. This is not about right versus left. This is right versus wrong. And I hope that we get all the files. I hope we get all the information so that we can hold those responsible accountable.
It's the story is about a lot of things. It's also about a set of rules for the rich and powerful and a different set of rules for everybody else. There are a lot of moments right now that are about that, but this certainly highlights it. A core of the message of your campaign is that the political struggle in this country shouldn't be about left versus right, but about top versus bottom. How do you see that all play out here?
Yeah, this is a prime example where those at the top, both people who are at the top of our economy and those who are at the top of our government, collude to help each other. And sometimes that means breaking the law. And so while the rest of us play by one set of rules, the rich and the powerful play by another. And I think Americans across the political spectrum are tired of this broken system, and they're ready to join together across partisan divides, racial divides, gender divides, religious divides, so that we can finally take power back for working people in Texas and across the country.
Out of an effort to protect Donald Trump. And now that doing an investigation will be helpful for them in the media, or potentially help them say, well, we're in the middle of an investigation, so we can't share that much, unfortunately, which is absolutely what they're going to be doing. Well, we're in the middle of an investigation, so, we can't disclose that much. That's their plan, by the way. Now that it's beneficial to Donald Trump, they'll hop on board. This is crazy. It's never been crazier than this. It hasn't. And so we need to take not our conspiracies, because they're not conspiracies, they're just real questions, to the highest level possible, to the did Trump kill him level. At this point, that's where I'm at. I'm thinking we just got to keep asking that question. I think a reporter needs to ask that of Carolyn Levitt and watch her respond. Ask it of Donald Trump and watch him respond. Ask it of Pam Bondi and watch her respond if these people ever go before the press again. But the press also has to stand up. Everybody does. And be a lot louder and talk about this constantly. And someone who I think had a very important response was someone running in Texas for Senate, someone I think y'all should get a lot more familiar with. That's James Talarico right here. These people are depraved. We can be real about this. They are depraved. They are gross, just disgusting criminals, and we can call them out for what they are. They're sickening me. And we can say that on this show. We're going to every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.